The epistle reading for this Sunday comes from the 12th chapter of the letter to the Romans. It's the second portion. We used the first portion last week, but the second portion this week of St. Paul's lovely litany of ways in which Christians should live and engage with the world. We begin by reading from verse 9. Let love be genuine. Hate what is evil. Hold fast to what is good. Love one another with mutual affection. Outdo one another in showing honor. Do not lag in zeal. Be ardent in spirit. Serve the Lord. Rejoice in hope. Be patient in suffering. Persevere in prayer. Contribute to the needs of the saints. Extend hospitality to strangers. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse them. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Weep with those who weep. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be haughty, but associate with the lowly. Do not claim to be wiser than you are. Do not repay anyone evil for evil, but take thought for what is noble in the sight of all. If it is possible, so far as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. Beloved, never avenge yourselves, but leave room for the wrath of God. For it is written, "Vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord." No, if your enemies are hungry, feed them. If they are thirsty, give them something to drink. For by doing so, you will heap burning coals on their heads. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. That is such a substantive litany that I think we do well just to take one clause from it this morning and focus on that. There is enough there to spend the rest of your life trying to live out. And the beauty of it and the power of it is a wonderful guide for Christian living. But today, let's just look at the phrase that says, contribute to the needs of the saints. Contribute to the needs of the saints. And when the apostle says saints there, he doesn't mean the meritorious, but rather those who are a part of the fellowship, a part of the family of God. And remember, in Matthew's gospel, Jesus defines his family as the least of these, those who are in need. Contribute to the needs of the least of these, of those who are suffering. Contribute to the needs of the saints. One of the ways in which my heart has been warmed is by seeing how this congregation has responded this summer in contributing to the needs of the saints. And you've done that particularly since the pandemic began through the One Great Hour of Sharing offering and through the Pentecost offering this summer. These two offerings together have been such a wonderful, compassionate outreach to hurting people in the community that I want to say thank you. Thank you to everyone who's participating in helping this offering reach out to hurting people. Today, some members of the Witness and Service Committee of the church are here, and they're going to talk about specific ways that this generosity has been a means of compassionate outreach this summer and really since the pandemic began. The Pentecost offering had as a particular emphasis feeding ministries. The One Great Hour of Sharing offering, sometimes by this congregation called this year the COVID offering, went particularly to help those who have been hurt in this difficult economy or by the illness itself. Let's welcome the members of the Witness and Service Committee who are here to share about this work that you've been a part in together. I want to begin by welcoming Michael Maddox, who's the chairman of the Witness and Service Committee. Welcome, Michael.
Hi, John.
Thank you for your leadership with this committee. We're really grateful for the way in which you all have been not only implementing the offering, but distributing it. I want to start by asking you how the committee identifies compassionate outreach ministries, the partners that we might work with, and do you have an example of one such ministry?
Yes, John, the compassionate outreach is the key to that question. we're looking to alleviate suffering in our community, to help those that are the most vulnerable, those that are hurting. And we have the opportunity to do that with 12 great members of our committee who are involved in business, in the medical field, in the legal world. And they are the eyes and the ears of this congregation to both listen to the congregation that identifies needs and to find organizations that are currently serving so we can step with them and help them. And we've been able to do that through various ministries. One that I'd like to share about is called the Timothy Initiative. And I became familiar with the Timothy Initiative from my work in the criminal justice system. And this is a group devoted to serving the Lord. It's men who have suffered from things like alcoholism, drug abuse, maybe criminal problems, family dynamics that have been challenging. And what they've done is join hands together in a community to work together to serve the Lord and to work their way out of tough situations. And our church and its generosity, giving for the COVID 1 Great Hour Sharing Special Offering, did an amazing job of reaching higher than we've ever reached in terms of the amounts contributed, and we provided substantial assistance to the Timothy Initiative because they run several group homes where the men live, and they needed a roof over their head. They needed to improve the facilities, and we provided funding so that they could do that when, John, during this pandemic that we know has all touched us in profound ways, they found that their revenues had gone down substantially. And I can just tell you, those men are so grateful. And it's because of you, members of our congregation who gave generously, that they are able to stay together as a committed community serving Christ themselves. And this church should feel good about the hard work it's doing out in the trenches in our community and bringing the gospel, what you just read from Romans, to bear.
I do feel good about it, Michael, and particularly when I hear the verse from the apostle, contribute to the needs of the saints. And I'm grateful to the congregation, but I'm especially grateful to you. This has taken a lot of your time, and thank you for your leadership in helping us to reach out to this care to people like the folks in the Timothy Initiative Ministry. Thank you.
You're welcome, and I'll just sneak in a special thanks to you, John, because without your leadership, which I've enjoyed since I've been in high school, I wouldn't be where I am serving and loving the Lord. So thank you, John.
Well, thank you, Michael. I think that's a compliment, but I am an older pastor now, aren't I? I want to welcome Dr. Sylvia Campbell, who's here, because it's a nice follow-up to Michael. Sylvia, Michael was talking about a specific way that he's seen this compassionate outreach help a ministry, and I know how much you care personally, not only for the patients in your practice, but for hurting people that you reach out to with your own hands as a form of care. Can you say something about where you've seen the sick or the hungry or the often forgotten helped by the gifts of this summer?
Thank you, John. I just want to say thank you. And thank you is more than 8 letters strewn together. Thank you is heartfelt gratitude and love. And your hearts have reached out to the homeless at Faith Cafe and Metropolitan Ministries to provide food. Your hearts and gifts have provided gift cards to be passed out to those who sleep on the streets of our community, allowing them to get a warm meal or supplies that they need. Your hearts have helped to feed the elderly at Meals on Wheels. And your hearts have reached across the water to Haiti and to Uganda to provide food for those and help bridge the gap of food insecurity for the people who face starvation every day because of this pandemic. At the Judeo-Christian Health Clinic, your gifts have allowed the purchasing of safe and protective gear so that the pharmacy can remain open and medications can be given, life-saving medications, to the patients that come there. Your gifts have allowed patients to be treated and seen who are sick and the care that they need to be given. Your loving compassion has seen the invisible and the often forgotten in our community, and by doing so, you have given them hope. Mother Teresa said, "You may not be able to change the world, but if you can change the world around you, that might be enough." And you have done this. You have changed the world not only in our community, but in the world around us as well. So we thank you so much.
Contribute to the needs of the saints from the hands of this congregation to hurting people in this community. And that lets me segue into Kim Toole. Welcome, Kim, because I think what Sylvia said connects with some of what you've been following for us, doesn't it?
It does. Sylvia mentioned that we have been helping feed people in other countries, in Uganda and in Haiti, and we have done that, and the pictures are just amazing. They were so grateful, and it was so necessary. But we've also done other things besides feeding in other countries. In Honduras, for example, we have contributed money that's gone towards medications, medicines, and to PPE and for the clinic that we support there. And that's been so necessary. They've been quarantined, really, truly shut down. And so they've needed that extra money to refill their pharmacy, which was just depleted, because there was no way to get drugs from the capital to where the clinic is. And we've also helped in Uganda with Health Connect, where we've provided PPE for them, where they've gone out and the community healthcare workers go out and help in the villages, and they needed it to be able to help the villagers there with their needs. And so that's been another wonderful thing we've done. So it hasn't all been food, but there has been other food too. Locally, we've helped with Tampa Urban Young Life. We've partnered with Russell Johnson there to help give cards for families that he's identified that are in need of food and that are really hungry. And we've also helped with the refugee program, both with food and with computers and that sort of thing. So, we have helped so many hurting people, both in Tampa and in other countries, through these offerings. And they are so grateful, and we as a committee are so grateful to the congregation for participating so wholeheartedly in our efforts.
Some of the partners that we've supported and helped have been close by, some have been far away, but the apostle says, contribute to the needs of the saints. Thank you, Kim, for helping us to do that here and in other places. And feeding ministries have been a special emphasis of that, and I want to thank John Wells for being here. John, you have regularly and very faithfully been a leader in the feeding ministries here at PCPC, particularly our support of the Bethel Mission to farm workers and End 68 Hours of Hunger. Would you say something about how that's gone this summer and the role the offering has played?
Sure. We've had a long and strong relationship with the Bethel Farm Worker Ministry on many levels. Their small staff relies on food donations, federal food programs, and volunteers to serve about 600 families on a weekly basis. When the pandemic started, resources for food began to dry up. So our food drive came at a critical time and has continued with van loads of items from the Fellowship Hall driven to Bethel by Bert Chamorro, frequently on a weekly basis. And the need for food and volunteers continues. When we couldn't provide scholarships for their kids to go to Cedar Kirk this past summer, we provided, and I would say you provided, 100 Cedar Kirk camp boxes so that kids could have a little bit of a virtual camp experience anyway. The recent drive for school supplies was amazing and so much appreciated by the primarily migrant farm workers there. Your generosity has done so much to help make their lives a little better. Many of you will know that End 68 Hours of Hunger provides backpacks or bags of food to local school children on the weekends at about 20 local schools, including the one across the street. The school system employees have normally made the distribution, so when schools closed, it took a lot of effort to reconnect with as many kids as possible. A huge problem was that the bulk food orders from places like Aldi and Walmart were canceled. So access to food became limited and much more expensive. Deliveries to each family involved our members in a broad community effort. This church's passionate response to the food drive helped keep the shelves from going bare in the pantry, and over 350 kids from going hungry in our community. And the needs continue. And while we're talking about feeding, I want to mention the FED program, the Feeding Every Disciple program, that's been going on in this church for over 10 years to 8 families in our community with children that have gone to this church for most of their lives. Many may have seen us packing groceries once a month in the fellowship hall, but we had to transition to grocery deliveries instead. Some of those family members lost jobs and other means of support during this time. So your faithfulness has been important and much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Your faithfulness has been important, John, and I appreciate your leadership in helping us feed hungry people. And you mentioned the 350 children. It's not just one time. It's week after week that those children and their families are being fed. That's very powerful. Contribute to the needs of the saints. Say something about a little local energy I've seen here at the end of the summer right on the campus of the church, the little food pantry. What is that?
Yeah, the little free pantry. Many of you have seen little free libraries in your community. This is along those lines, but it has grown into an international movement. The little free pantry is an outdoor pantry that's located here, that will be located here on our property. It's just a wooden box with a post containing food, personal care items, and paper items accessible to everyone all the time, no questions asked. So we're excited to be working to build the first one, and we'll be looking for volunteers to help. It'll be located here on this property with plans for others at Belmar and possibly other locations. So thank you.
That's just wonderful. I mean, I really think that shapes the character of the community when that kind of compassion is right there on your campus, immediately accessible to people like that.
Yeah, amen.
Thank you. John, let me ask Aaron to follow up with you and join us now. Aaron McKinney, I think that you've come to talk with us a little bit about hope and how the Hope Ministry connects with faith communities in Hillsborough County here. And this is an important new direction for us. Tell us something about it, Aaron.
It is. Thank you, John. On the Witness and Service Committee, in addition to the compassionate outreach that some of the members have already talked about, the committee identified that there are other ways to engage in compassionate outreach, and some of that is through action. And through discussions with HOPE, which is the Hillsborough Organization for Progress and Equality, the Witness and Service Committee had decided that it would be good for PCPC to partner with HOPE. HOPE is a grassroots, multicultural, interfaith organization, and it consists of 23 congregations here in Hillsborough County.
23.
23.
That's a lot of people getting along together. 23 congregations working on anything is a surprise to me.
It's a great point, but the common ground for these 23 organizations, these 23 congregations, is their faith. But it is congregations that span from, there are Baptist congregations, Methodist, AME churches. There are 1 or 2 synagogues, Catholic churches, obviously Presbyterian churches. And so while all of these organizations have a diverse and a varied, experiences and backgrounds, that faith is what brings them together. And so the Witness and Service Committee saw partnering with HOPE as an opportunity for PCPC to do justice in our community. And so I want to kind of focus on those 2 points, the first one being doing justice. I wrote down the mission statement because I don't think that I would have been able to memorize it.
This is HOPE's mission statement.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's right.
I'm not sure what I said there. The HOPE's mission statement is to promote justice, fairness, and the dignity of people by engaging and training people to responsibly and successfully act together to hold officials accountable to improve the systems affecting the quality of life in our communities. And so that's, a pretty tall order. That's a very ambitious mission statement. And one thing that I've just been so impressed about is the inclusion of faith in their meetings and in the way that they really deliberate and think through these issues. I know we've talked before about the fact that Micah 6:8 is really their guiding, their guiding scripture, and they really do think about, what does the Lord require of you? And doing justice is a big part of who they are. And they do that by working in our community. And so that's the second point that I really want to emphasize. All of these diverse voices from 23 congregations come together every year to identify an issue in Hillsborough County that they can work towards making changes, whether it's a policy change, whatever it is that they identify. And I thought an example would be helpful.
They rally around one issue.
They rally around one issue. Now, that doesn't mean that they solve that issue in that same year.
Yes.
Some issues take longer to resolve and require more research, or a little bit more pushing, if you will. But they identify at least one issue each year that they are going to research and then have a call to local officials to change. And so one of those issues I know you're familiar with is affordable housing. Hope was so instrumental in getting the Hillsborough commissioners to approve a $10 million annual fund for affordable housing in Hillsborough County, that the act is actually called the Hope Hillsborough Affordable Housing Act. They worked on this issue for 5 to 6 years, but as a result of their hard work and their belief in doing justice, they were able to effect that change. And they are working on other issues, mental health. They were very instrumental in some of the changes to the juvenile civil citation program. I would encourage anyone who's interested in learning more about their issues to go on their website.
Now that PCPC is a part of the organization, can members participate in it? Is there a way in which they could be a part of it?
They can, yes. There are several ways, but as I mentioned earlier, the Hope identifies that issue that they really want to focus on. The way they do that is through a life cycle process. They start out by identifying that issue, and they do that through listening sessions at house meetings. These are going to be virtual this year. Normally you would be meeting together in a group. And so each congregation has leaders of their church, and those leaders then form their virtual house meetings this year. The leaders for PCPC are Mike Peacock, Maggie and Rick McClintock, Courtney Rice, and Bob Coates.
That's a good team.
It's a great team, and they have been working so hard this summer to get trained for how to actually have these listening sessions and how to move PCPC into this membership. And so they are currently at the stage of looking for what are called network members, the individuals who are going to participate in these house meetings. And so if you're interested in being a part of this justice ministry, then I would encourage you to reach out to any of the leaders, or you can reach out to myself. We just posted a new video about Hope on our website, and it was in our e-news. So I would highlight that and recommend everyone to check that out. It goes into a lot more detail about how you can get involved. And the other way you can get involved is through committees. So if you see an issue that you're interested in on their website that they're currently working on, you can reach out to me and I'll let you know if there are committees that you can join. So for example, I'm on the Criminal Justice Committee, and we're in the process of doing research. So there's a lot of ways you can get involved.
That's wonderful, because it's a way of taking action, and it lets us take a step into the fall and changing our community to help it be more compassionate, and it follows the apostles' exhortation, contribute to the needs of the saints. And that's the least of these around us. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Yes. And let me conclude this sermon by saying thank you to the congregation. It's your generosity that's enabled us to have this kind of wonderful response across the summer. What a great work it's done. It has helped very directly hurting people who have been impacted by the pandemic and the economic challenges as a part of it both. And I have seen personally how much it's meant to folks in tough moments. Hear the apostles' exhortation. Contribute to the needs of the saints. Thank you for helping us faithfully carry that out this year.